All right. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning, Birmingham Public Library. I am Chelsea from your Department of Outreach, and happy Pride. Today we have a Pride program for you from the Magic City Acceptance Center, and I'd like to introduce the Assistant Director, Lauren Jacobs.
Hey, Chelsea. Hi, Birmingham Public Library. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. I'm so happy to have you here today. So I'm just gonna hand it over to you. You have a presentation for us?
Sure, thank you for having us, and thank you for celebrating Pride in Birmingham and letting folks know what is going on. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so hello again. My name is Lauren Jacobs. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am the Assistant Director of the Magic City Acceptance Center. And if you've not heard of us before, MCAC, there we go. MCAC, as we call it for short, is a brave and affirming space for the LGBTQ community in Birmingham, Alabama. And so we have provided programs to over 1,200 young folks since we opened in the spring of 2014. We're a program of Birmingham AIDS Outreach, and our opening, the reason that we opened and the reason why we exist really is founded around the fact that when we opened in 2014, we were seeing the highest rates of new HIV infection in those ages 13 to 24. Of all of the age ranges of everyone in Central Alabama, the highest rate of new HIV infection was in young people. And so that's really a big part of our foundational reason for existing. We started as a space where young folks could access conversations around safer sex, HIV testing, and with the knowledge that a lot of young folks weren't receiving safer sex education in their school environments or at home. And if they were, it was really less likely that they were receiving LGBTQ inclusive or LGBTQ centered safer sex education. So that was our beginnings in 2014. And from there, we have grown into a fully fledged community space. So we're still most well known for our youth programs for folks ages 13 to 24, but we also have adult programs. We have a parent support group for parents of trans and non-binary youth. And then we also have a space for those trans and non-binary youth under the age of 14 to gather when we're not in the COVID times. This is my favorite photo in the entire world, and so I always share it whenever I get a chance. This is us at the Pride Parade in 2018, I believe, back when we were able to actually be in Pride parades. As you might imagine, confidentiality is hugely important for us. In our 7 years of existence, we've met young folks who are super comfortable being out and being seen as members of our community and of our programs. We also have met many young folks who've had to not disclose to the people closest in their lives where they were. And so everything that we do is really founded on that confidentiality and protecting that confidentiality. So when you see a photo like this from us, like right now, or on our social media, please know that we've asked every single young person in that photo if they were okay with us sharing it. So at the same time that there are many young people who we know are struggling, having to not be out and not be accepted by their family, their peers, their communities, there are so many young people in Birmingham and across the entire state who are out and want to be seen as members of our community and as members of our programs. Also, I just love this photo because it looks like a Renaissance painting and it's the most Alabama thing ever, and that there's randomly just a goat. That's actually an emotional support goat, and his name is Flanders. So I want to share really quickly as it relates to youth. You know, as I said, we serve the entire community, all age ranges, but I wanted to share really quickly as it relates to young people, what young folks who are LGBTQ in Alabama are experiencing. So this is just some data that comes from a national organization called GLSEN, and they survey LGBTQ high schoolers every 2 years. It's actually really interesting that you get to see that data over time. They survey high schoolers about their school climate. And what you can see really quickly if you're glancing at this is that there are not a lot of supports for LGBTQ youth in our Alabama high schools. I think there were I want to say over 200 young people that did this survey. And so this is about discrimination. 1 in 3 LGBTQ students and nearly 3 in 4 trans students being unable to use the bathroom that aligns with their gender, being prevented from using chosen name or pronouns in school, being disciplined for public displays of affection, being unable to form GSAs, which are gay straight alliances or gender and sexuality alliances, and being prevented from participating in sports. This is about hearing negative remarks and experiencing harassment. And the thing that I share with folks when I look at this is that it is both entirely surprising and unfortunate, and also at the same time unsurprising. It completely squares with what our young folks who participate in our programs report about the harassment they experience. It also squares with my own experience as a high schooler who grew up in Alabama. It is shocking to look at the same time, and it is something that we hope our entire community takes on to fix. So 94% of youth having heard gay used in a negative way, for example, that's so gay. 86% of youth hearing other homophobic remarks, including slurs, 85% hearing negative remarks about gender expression, 76% hearing negative remarks about transgender people. And then the figure on the right is about verbal and physical harassment, as well as physical assault. And those numbers are glaring. So when we're talking about what youth in our programs and youth across our state are experiencing, this is it. And a lot of this on a really regular daily basis. So it is important that we are, as an entire community, as a whole Birmingham, as a whole state, working to create more and more affirming and brave spaces for our young folks, because this is entirely taxing on folks' mental health. So before COVID, actually, I wanted to show this too. In addition to all of the things that young people are experiencing in school, this year, we also saw a lot of anti-trans youth legislation. And we're not the only state to see this legislation. A lot of it was kind of copy and pasted from state to state, right? Around trans youth and access to bathrooms, locker rooms, access to healthcare, and access to playing on sports teams that affirmed their gender identity. This is what our young folks are carrying as they are just trying to be young folks going about their day-to-day lives. So we felt it was really important to take a stand in that and make it known that there are people across the entire state. We are not the only ones. There are plenty of organizations and amazing people who do this work. But there are people in Birmingham who care deeply about trans youth and trans adults. And it was important to us to send a message of support to those youth and a message to our legislators so that folks know that there are people here who care and care loudly. So we were lucky enough to be able to put up this billboard and be supported by the community in putting up this billboard that just said #ProtectAlabamaTransKids. So if you are a trans young person or you love a trans young person, please let them know that it's not just Alabama who is behind and protecting them, unfortunately, but there are folks here who care deeply and who are working every day to create affirming and safer spaces for them. So what things looked like for us before COVID in terms of our programs for youth was that we had a lot, in fact, all of our programs were at our physical building. We're on the south side of Birmingham. We just moved into the 3rd building that we've ever had. It is a brand new, big, beautiful space. It's huge. We're super excited to get back to our programs here. But the things that we were doing in person were twice weekly drop-in hours, every single Tuesday and Thursday, for young folks to be in our space and do homework, hang out, play video games, watch movies, really whatever youth wanted to do in the space. It was completely youth-led, and in that sense, we would do things like art workshops. We did an artist series over Zoom last year to let folks engage with some art and that conversation. We do things like safer sex and healthy relationship workshops. Again, safer sex and sex education is at the heart of everything that we do, making sure that our youth are empowered to have knowledge to protect themselves. Free HIV and STI testing and education. We have a group that is just for trans and non-binary youth that would meet in person. We had a group called Cutie Pock Talk that was just for queer and trans folks of color to meet in person. We would do things like self-care workshops, social and emotional learning workshops. We have a YouTube channel. Every summer, we would be doing a summer camp in person. Also our prom, there's one of the prom flyers from the previous years, and a homecoming. Those events are super special to us because we know that a lot of LGBTQ youth aren't able to show up to their school dances with the partner that they want to have, or even feel comfortable going alone, or feel comfortable wearing whatever it is that they would like to wear. So when we do prom, at our last prom, there were 194 folks ages 13 to 24 from across the whole region who came to prom. Folks know that they can wear what they want. They know that they'll be respected with the name and pronouns that they use. When we talk about, I want to go back to wearing what you want. We don't care if you show up in gym shorts and a t-shirt. If you want to be super formal and fancy, that's totally okay, but we want you to show up comfortably and however you can. And then lastly, last year we did some pride boxes for young folks since we were closed. So this is a mixture of the things that we were doing before, but now that we are in COVID times, we are online. And so we have created a Discord server. And if you are a gamer, you're probably familiar with Discord. And if you're not a gamer, you probably have never heard of it. That was the case for me before we started it. Discord is really cool in that it is a text-based community building online platform. And so it is entirely accessible to folks who are in homes where they're not able to talk out loud about LGBTQ identity and experiences because you can just text there. Shouldn't say entirely accessible. We recognize that having internet access is still a barrier for a lot of folks, or having a device where you can engage safely on your own is still a huge barrier. But one thing that having this online space has allowed us to do is make our program available across the entire state. So any LGBTQ young person between the ages of 13 to 24 living anywhere in Alabama can register for our Discord server, get added, and then there we're doing conversations and workshops about, there's some days twice a day, but every Monday through Thursday, that server is open and we as staff facilitate it and moderate it and keep it safe. It's invitation only. And so that means that every person who has joined has gone through our registration process to be there. Oh, and one thing I want to point out too about this flyer is that photo that looks like it's a stock photo is actually from one of our homecoming dances. So thanks to the amazing young folks who said that we could use that photo of them just hanging out at our homecoming. So in that online space for young folks, we're doing things like game nights, we're playing Jackbox games, and that's really fun. It's really fun to make them very LGBTQ in theme and very prideful. We're having movie nights. For example, we watched the movie Hearts Beat Loud, which features 2 queer Black characters played by 2 queer Black actors. Wow, revolutionary. And then upcoming, we have a workshop in partnership with the counseling team at the Magic City Wellness Center to talk about Pride beyond Pride Month. We recognize that Pride is complicated. Pride carries a lot of feelings for a lot of folks, whether you're somebody who gets to be very out and gets to be very loud and proud, or you're someone who is in the closet and unable to be out for reasons of your own safety. We want to be able to have a conversation about that, as well as the history of Pride and why we celebrate Pride. So that is a conversation that we are really, really looking forward to, and talking about what it means to carry Pride beyond just June. We also have a Discord server that is exclusively for Black, queer, and trans youth called Black Trans Queer Excellence. Again, we used to be able to meet in person, but we've taken it all online. And so this server is, you register for it the same way you do our other server, and we send you an invitation link that is exclusive, again, just to Black LGBTQ youth across the entire state of Alabama. And now we're beginning to do some small things in person again. We are so grateful that Pride Month has aligned with us having a bit more, as a community, having a bit more ways to do things safely and COVID consciously. So on June 28th, we are doing Pride in the parking lot. That's what we're calling it, just direct and to the point. It'll be at the parking lot at our building. It'll be only for folks ages 13 to 24, but there will be music, there will be snacks and games, all of the rainbowed out and trans-colored out swag you can imagine. And then again, conversations about Pride history. It is super important that as a community, we acknowledge that where Pride came from, where we celebrate Pride in June, to commemorate the Stonewall riots and to commemorate the Black and brown trans femmes who led that moment for our community. So it's always, always, always a pleasure to connect young folks to that sense of their history as a large community, but also to the sense of history as LGBTQ Alabamians, to talk about our own Pride history in the state of Alabama and how we've been celebrating Pride here over the years. So we're excited that we will get to do something safe and COVID conscious for Pride outside in our parking lot. I want to add, I didn't talk about it a lot, but we do have programs for adults. Adults for us being 25 and up, because you can participate in our young adult program until that point. For adults, we have a program called Speak Out that is, again, currently meeting on Discord once a week. If you're interested in finding that program, it's just a peer supportive space for LGBTQ adults in the state. You can find the information on our Facebook and on our Instagram. And if you're hoping to get in touch with us directly, there's our director, Amanda Keller's email address, as well as my email address, lauren@mcac-bao.org. We love the fact that we get to be a hub for information for the community. So if you're looking for LGBTQ affirming doctors, counselors, gynecologists, educators, whatever it may be, we love that we get to point people to those resources. So we encourage you to reach out if you have any questions at all or any ideas of what you need, any other resources. Just send us a message to say hi. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Hello. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was fantastic. And also the story you told about that photo was really moving and wonderful. And just like you said, it was like a Renaissance painting. every inch of that photo had something new and exciting to look at.
Thank you.
So how do you feel like people have adapted to how do you feel people have adapted to Discord?
Yeah, so Discord has been amazing for us. And again, thank you for letting us share about it and talk about it. It's something that we've already let our folks know we intend to keep even once we do resume our in-person programs fully, because at this point there are, I think, 150-ish youth across the entire state who've joined and have access to that online space. There are folks from 28 counties now that we've made it state.
Wow.
Right? So it's really cool to see folks find each other and connect in their different pockets of Alabama and realize too that our youth community is bigger than they once maybe thought. So again, we know it's still a barrier for folks who don't have internet access or device access, but there is a lot that's promising that can come out of that space. So we intend to keep it.
That's awesome. Okay, good. I'm so happy. And I find a lot of programs, they have further reach. So it's not just youth that are here in Birmingham, but all across the state, people can benefit from this space. And also, what summer program are you looking forward to the most?
I think I am most looking forward to Pride in the Parking Lot, a little bit because we know what it's going to be, but we also don't know what it's going to be in the sense that we didn't get to do Pride last year. We didn't get to do Pride in person in the same way. So I know that so many people have been really, really looking forward to finally getting back to doing some things out in the community. So Pride in the Parking Lot is going to be super fun. There's also one thing that I didn't mention in that we've been doing COVID conscious movie screenings at Sidewalk Cinema, partnering with them in their space where they have a very nice air filtration system and they have limited seating so that it's a bit safer and spaced out. And this month we're going to be showing the movie The Prom, since we don't get to have our own prom. And I'm excited for folks to be able to join us for that. That's all on our Instagram. You can register. It is completely free. Everything that we're doing for LGBTQ youth ages 13 to 24 is completely free. I wish that we were able to provide more transportation for folks, but if you can get there and show up, it is completely free for you to be there.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, I have one more question. If you're willing to share, what's your favorite Pride memory?
Okay. I love that question. Okay. I love the fact of getting older as an LGBTQ person and having more and more Pride memories every year. When I was younger, it was something that I never really thought I was going to be able to do. But my favorite memory is still, I think, my first Pride. It was when the Pride Parade went through 5 Points. And I definitely told my mother I was going to a friend's house. I was 18. It was true. I went to a friend's house. I just went after the parade. Um, and I remember that feeling of, for the first time, seeing all of the streets that I had been on suddenly full of queer and trans folks. Just out of nowhere, it felt like seeing everybody line up and just be there. And then just as quickly as it started, it felt like it was over and everyone dispersed. And I remember being an 18-year-old, not realizing that folks were probably going to go to bars and things afterwards. And that wasn't something that I could do that was accessible. So full circle, now it is really, really cool to be able to do youth events for our community and give them a place to go after the parade. When we do the parade, we immediately come back to our center. And so it's really nice to do some things that make that proud, prideful feeling not feel so fleeting. And again, I know we're not the only folks doing this work, and there are so many great orgs. I mean, the fact that the library is doing a virtual series around Pride is really incredible. And the fact that the library has always been a space that's much more inclusive for our community, where they can find LGBTQ books and resources and programming, is amazing. So I really appreciate y'all, and I appreciate every person who is working to make our city and our state safer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that memory. And also, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And happy Pride.
Happy Pride, Chelsea. Thanks for asking and thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Birmingham Public Library, and we'll see you next Thursday for our next Pride conversation.